Yeah, maybe policy-wise, I would do better under the Democrats or Bernie Sanders. But these other people just seem fucking crazy. They seem like committed to just going to absurd lengths just for shits and giggles, just for the fuck of it. Just this bizarre attachment to things that are just ridiculous. To your point about is he just crazy? When you meet him in person and spend that kind of time, and he's not on his his attack mode thing. He does not strike you as a crazy person or a person who doesn't listen or can't hear things. Again, they were very mad at me for saying this, but that's what happened. And I am not a liar.
Bill Maher recently spoke with media personality and right-wing critic Tim P. The sparks flew, to put it mildly. One would expect them to clash because of their political differences, but they don't. The real heat was directed at the Democrats. Given his continued criticism of the DNC, I must admit that I wouldn't be shocked if Ma checked the GOP box in 2028. From the channel, greetings. Click the subscribe button and let's begin if you want candid, uncensored political discourse.
I don't feel like anybody in this country can even presume that what people think about them is anywhere near the truth. And if you do think that, you're very naive, and people are just going to want to believe. Somebody told me just the other day, that speaking of girlfriends, this one is it's funny. This one wasn't in that list, but they could have put it there. But they were out to dinner with a few people, and this person said that I used to date Ann Coulter.
I've heard that. I have heard it.
Okay, well, it's not true, and both of us would say that. Now, am I friends with her? Yes. And anyone who doesn't like that can go fuck themselves. I'll be friends with whoever I want. I think I proved that over and over again, including with Donald Trump. You know, I believe in talking to people.
Are you?
But it's not like I've ever, to either one of them, given an inch on what my beliefs.
Bill Maher asked Tim P. what he felt about modern politics in an informal way to start the conversation. P. also didn't hold back. He tore into the growing political divide, warning of the dangerous extremes driving the country apart. But Maher wasn't there to exercise caution. He leaned in and lit the fuse with sharp eyes. He asserted that the fact that he has the gall to meet with political competitors, especially Donald Trump, is just unacceptable to the left. Shockwaves were sent by that alone. The left did expect fireworks, but they thought Maher would lead them at pool. Rather, the two forged an unexpected partnership and ruthlessly and accurately thrashed the Democrats. But this was by no means the end. Not even close. The real bombshell was still on Mars's lips. Just wait to see what he says next.
Our big problems, I think, politically, is like this idea that we're the good people. We know what's good. And anyone who doesn't agree with that, well, they're an existential threat to America. And that happens on both sides.
I agree, but you know, it is a weird position for me to be in. I was talking to some friends before the show, and I was saying, like, I think that if you and I discussed policy solutions for the country, I'd probably be to the left of you. But
in some ways, yeah.
Probably most ways.
You like Bernie.
I did.
I like Bernie, but I don't want socialism in America.
You know,
more than what we have. We already have plenty.
But the issue is, today I feel like what defines someone politically is not the policies they want, but it's what they believe to be true.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, Matt Taibbi writes about this.
I'm a big fan. He's amazing.
You can already feel the tension rising like a noose, even though the conversation has only begun. It is dangerously comforting to think that you are always the good guy, and that the opposition is an existential threat to democracy. It happens on both sides, Ma admits, and I agree. But let's be honest, it's far more common on the left. Ma is conscious of it too. For this reason, when he called on Bernie Sanders, he didn't hold back. Sanders, a fervent socialist, positions himself as the moral compass of American politics and paints capitalists as villains who are generating instability in the nation. But Maher didn't think it was true. He exposed that story's deceit with a precise, well-timed blow, a classic Ma takedown. His tone suggested that he was just warming up, but it was brutal and precise. They still hadn't delivered the real gut punch.
Modus operandi of news organizations used to be informing the public, and then it became audience stroking. How can we interpret this thing that just happened in such a way that our audience will give us likes?
Yep.
I like that. I like you said it that way. I like your point of view because that's what I already think, and I hate them, and so I like.
He's right.
He's right.
Yeah.
No, and it's just.
I worked for ABC. Started ABC New Division did a joint venture in 2014 called Fusion, and I was at Vice, and I moved over there, and then they told me that the new trend was going to be called mission-driven storytelling, and I said, "What does that mean?" And they said, "There's no such thing as objectivity. Everyone is subjective, so we're going to tell the stories our audience wants to hear." I had a meeting with the president, and he was talking to me about this, and I said, "Does that mean if there is a news story that is true and important, we would choose not to report it because it might upset our audience?" And he said, "Yeah, I think that's fair." The company went bankrupt. They fired everybody. But this wasn't unique to them. They were chasing the trend. One of their marketing guys told me explicitly, "We want to maximize shares because we have to maximize views."
Something is revealed by Tim Pool. It's not exactly a secret, but it serves as a sobering reminder of what happens when journalism turns into theatrical. It illustrates how biased reporting tears a journalistic institution apart from the ground up. The audience longs for something genuine, unadulterated, equitable, and honest. But in their pursuit of clicks, ratings, and outrage, the networks gave up something far more important: public trust. Is the failure of the Democrats shocking? The public was not misled. They were able to see past the echo chambers of ABC and other left-wing media outlets. If you thought it was damning, just wait till you hear what Poole said next.
Views. We have to maximize views because we've already sold a set amount to the advertisers. One company bought 500,000 views from us. We don't complete that contract until those views are delivered. How do we deliver them? Angering moms. Middle-aged women who are angry share more than anyone else, so we're going to write stories that do that. That's actually what he told me. So it was social justice, it was racism.
I just pictured my writers all falling just because, I'm always I've had like a writer's room since 1993, Politically Incorrect.
Oh, wow.
That show went on there. So
I was a little kid.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it's, the joy of my life. One of the great joys is having a writer's room. I've said this before, but like Paul McCartney once said, I'd rather have a band than a Rolls Royce.
It is necessary to maximize views. We need to optimize the marketers because we've already sold them a specific quantity of views. One corporation purchased 500,000 views from us. Until such viewpoints are given, that agreement is not finalized. How do they get delivered? Angry moms. Middle-aged women who are angry share more than any other category. So we shall write stories that accomplish that. That's exactly what he told me. Then it was social justice. The cause was racism. Since I've had a writer's room since 1993, I'm always in, so I just saw my authors having a blast. Politically speaking, it is untrue that the show was set there. I was a little kid. Indeed. I'm sure. It's the best part of my life. One of the greatest joys is having a writer's place. I'd rather have a band than a Rolls Royce, as Paul McCartney famously said, and I've said it before.
Politics are like, if you were, I'm like a Chicago liberal, but the way things have gone, especially with like the woke stuff, this is where I end up in this position, and so does my neighborhood. I think it's interesting to see my neighborhood reflective of my politics and vice versa.
I think the phrase I was using last year was aggressively non-common sense or uncommonsensical. And it's like I accent aggressively. I don't think the woke people who have a vast amount of energy really in the Democratic Party understand why the people vote against them. And it's like, because if you add up like how many people are really affected by some of the aggressively uncommon sense things, it's probably not that many.
You had a great bit on that.
Yeah.
As Tim delivers yet another surprise, the room becomes quiet. You ask, what's all this got to do with the Democrats? In exchange, let me ask you a question. When it comes to political violence, the Democrats are always upping the ante. It is the Democratic National Committee that constantly employs identity politics as a campaign strategy. As a result, it's hard to look at the pattern and not draw connections. This is more than just political bluster. It appears to be premeditated, motivated by division, and meant to stir up unhappiness. If you think that's a reach, reconsider. Because all the signs lead to one disturbing possibility. The DNC may have intentionally created confusion to achieve its political goals. And trust me when I tell this is taken to a whole new level by what Poole says next.
When you add up these things, and men competing in women's sports, and just too much indoctrination of children with sexual ideas that they're too young to understand. When you add up all these things that get in the media a lot, it paints a picture, not a wrong picture, in the mind of the average voter that, yeah, maybe policy-wise I would do better under the Democrats or Bernie Sanders, but these other people just seem fucking crazy. They seem like committed to just going to absurd lengths just for shits and giggles, just for the fuck of it, just this bizarre attachment to things that are just ridiculous.
Tim P. was actually a liberal? You heard right. Neither a conservative nor a liberal, not a provocateur on the far right. I've said it before, so I'll say it again. Until the left distances itself from the militantly awakened element inside its own ranks, whether that segment is a noisy minority or a silent majority, the Democratic Party will continue to lose voters. People like Poole did not leave the left because they were no longer interested in civil liberties, economic reform, or social fairness. They fled because the conversation had been taken over. Because if you even slightly disagree with the progressive dogma, you are suddenly considered a traitor. And it's not only political evolution. That is a form of political exile. The DNC does not need to be rebranded. It's time for a reality check. Not because they have suddenly turned conservative, but because they are tired of being told what to think, what to say, and who they can challenge.